or on Twitter at KU Radio. From KUR News, I'm Mike Regensberger. Have a great day.
Any views or opinions expressed on KUR are not necessarily those of Kutztown University, Kutztown University Student Government, Kutztown University Student Services Incorporated, KUR staff and management, or other affiliated organizations.
It's Kutztown Live with George Flaitland, your campus community issues talk show. Call in live to Kutztown Live at 610-683-4859. That's 610-683-4859. Kutztown Live with George Flaitland. And now, live from the KUR studios, it's Kutztown Live.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to another edition of Kutztown Live. I'm your host, George Flaitland, here on this wonderful Monday in April, and it's absolutely gorgeous outside. A little bit chilly, but we're going to have a great day in the studio. But in the studio today, we have the authors, producers, wonderful artists of this wonderful new magazine called Brainbug. They recently have their new edition called The Growth Issue, and it's produced from Jesse Warner and Olivia Knowles. Guys, welcome on the show today.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us, George.
So guys, can you give us a little bit of insight on what this new magazine is like, and are you students here at KU, and what do you do here at Kutztown?
Well, we are both students here at Kutztown. The magazine is basically a big kids magazine. It's geared for ages 10 to 14, and it's basically a magazine that we wish we had when we were kids. It's based on Nickelodeon magazine, Discovery Zone Kids. The era of science is fun, learning is fun. Bill Nye. Discovery Zone, science centers, field trips. Just learning and science is something that is not lost, something that is still in the back of our minds, and something that we want to share with the current middle school students who are distracted by iPads, and we really feel that there's the market for magazines is kind of declining, in the sense that there's really only there's only really gossip magazines. There's only really like gender bias magazines. There's only really there's a lot of advertisements. There's like Disney magazine that's for like Frozen, and there's nothing really that's just a standout magazine that's strictly for the student itself.
And for those of you who don't know about the Brainbug magazine, it's absolutely filled with colors and like Jesse just said, filled with science facts and things that kids should be learning that sort of has been lost over the past I guess decade or so, if you want to say, with like the cool videos of Bill Nye, those sort of things, and going to field trips and museums. When you set out to make this magazine, what were some sort of obstacles and things that you had, and what was that sort of first initial feeling when you said, "Hey, let's make a magazine,"
Well, I think that the initial feeling when we decided that we wanted to make a magazine was very exciting for both of us, because Jesse and I are both very creative people. And we both just constantly are buzzing with energy, that we want to produce into some kind of final product or project. And we've known each other for about 2 years now. And it was really fortunate a year ago when we both kind of talked about how we wanted to make a magazine for this age group with this kind of aesthetic that we both really believe in bringing back and giving back to the age group that didn't get to experience what we experienced. And we were both just thrilled. We were like, great, this is it. Like, this is a project that we've both, completely invested our minds in already, and it's something that we immediately were like, let's put our all into it. And I think the biggest obstacles were, first of all, kind of knowing where to start. We did our research. We researched every magazine on the market right now for the age group that we're kind of looking to cater to. And, you know, like Jesse said, like they're all stuff like advertisements, and that it's gossip, it's puzzles, you know, it's sports and it's dolls, and there's nothing wrong with that, but there's just kind of like a big divide of, you know, this is what you should like, and it's very consumer based. You know, we definitely wanted to do something that was an activity in and of itself, because we have pullouts and we have stickers and we have, like, in our new issue, we have seeds that you can actually pull out in a little bag and you can plant them. They're marigold seeds because it's the growth issue. So the fact that we were really excited about doing something that had nothing to do with like advertising for like a bigger cause, it was something independent that we were doing, and it was a magazine, was really the big obstacle. When we told people, they're like, oh, just like put it online. People are reading stuff online now. Like, we got a lot of feedback on you know, the guts we had for wanting to just start this project on our own. But at the same time, there was always kind of like a little bit of, at the beginning, an underlying feel from people we went to for advice of, you know, this is kind of a risky market. I mean, magazine sales have declined so much because it's not really like what people are buying right now. So we've kind of had to stick to our morals, and we've had to say, you know, this is something we really believe in. We don't want to put it online because we want to give back that feeling of like having your magazine subscription and getting it in the mail, and like it's yours and you're able to feel it and carry it around with you and share it with people, and it never expires. Your battery doesn't die. Like, it's a magazine. It's there forever. And so that was really difficult, was trying to explain to people that like our morals mean a little bit more in this project than the practicality of it. But also it was very hard going around to retail locations with this issue, because our big thing right now is we want to get our magazine in retail locations other than just self-publishing and selling online and locally hand to hand. So we've never done anything like this before. So we're going in with this magazine and we're saying, hey, could you take a look at this? Do you think you'd be interested in having it in your bookstore? And there aren't that many bookstores right now anyway, so it was hard to find bookstores. And then when we did find them, everybody was like, we're not the buyer. We're going to have to give this to the distributor. We're going to have to call you back. So it's a patient process. We've been learning slowly.
And that has to be a little frustrating, you know, just starting with this whole process of making your own magazine, and essentially you're a business when you think about it. And what sort of advice have you been given from people around the community? Have you gone to professors for advice and opinions or facts, or how has that process been?
Well, when we first started, we went to a couple professors, and a couple professors were very supportive. Some of them were saying, what are you doing? Some of them said, go to the magazine clubs, join this club, join that, because then you'll learn the ropes of it. And eventually we just had to jump into it and do it ourselves. And eventually, Kevin McCloskey, the illustration professor, found us somehow, and he has been helping us along the way. He's the reason why we're going to Mocha Art Fest in New York City this weekend, and why we've been pretty much, we were on his illustration blog. He's been talking us up. He actually gave us a page from his book coming out soon called I Dig Worms. And he's been just promoting us and helping us along the way, and just kind of like just telling us to keep going. And he's the reason why we talked to Robin Underwood. And we've had a lot of support in the community. We've had a lot of we're in Firefly Bookstore now, so Firefly Bookstore is now carrying us. So the community is backing us a little bit. Everyone we've talked to has been supportive, but you know, a lot of people don't know how to support us. They say, we really like the idea, but the issue is everyone likes the idea, but they don't know where to go with it. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that's the issue with us as well, because we're getting so much positive support, and we're just trying to see where we land with it.
And the Kutztown Community Development Center in town has also been so supportive. They hooked us up with an opportunity to sell our first issue at the Christmas in Kutztown event in December, which was like our first issue debut. And that was great because we got some really awesome positivity from the community saying like, oh, you guys are just starting up, you know, let's take a look at what you're doing. And we had somebody from the Reading Eagle see us at our first issue release, and you know, we were in the Reading Eagle, we were recently in the Patriot and in the Keystone, so a lot of people locally in the media have been also really supportive of us. And Professor Dan Talley, I always say how helpful this conference was. Professor Dan Talley, who is a digital photo professor here at Kutztown, and he also teaches the business of art course. I went in and I had a conference with him when this was still kind of in the embryonic idea stage, of our project. And he gave me some really helpful advice because he teaches a whole unit on magazine making in his courses here at Kutztown. And he also started a magazine in the 80s, which he has been running ever since. And I think he just gave the rights to somebody else, or I don't really know what's going on with that. But either way, he's been in the magazine scene for so long, and he's a very strong believer in that form of reading. So it was a great conference. He gave us advice. He gave me a pep talk. He kind of said, this is what you're going to run into. This is a publisher you could use. This is a printer you could use. These are the people you could talk to, and you should, always make sure you do this, that, and the other thing. So it was really great because we didn't really know where to start, and that was a great push.
And when you look through this magazine, you wouldn't think that it's from two college kids, really, because it's so professionally well done with the illustrations and all the facts and all the work that you put into it. You can really, you can't tell the difference of, are they professionals? Are they still in college? And but it still gives that, trying to put the right words here, the kid vibe that kids still need to have when they're going through it, that they can relate to. And I think you guys do a great job of that.
Thank you. That's actually kind of been a blessing and a curse. We went to a couple retail locations, and we went to them and said, hey, we made this magazine. Can you check it out? And I think they looked at us as if we were just interns, or we were part of a huge group, and they were like, okay, whatever. They didn't even look at it as if it was something that two people put together, because it just looked too professional. It literally, they didn't even look at us. They thought we were just a couple people that wanted to make some extra money on the side.
Or they thought it was our university's magazine, and we were representing it. We're not affiliated. I mean, we're grateful to be a part of the Small Business Development Center, but it's not for a class or anything. Everybody says, are you doing this for a club? And we're like,
yeah,
no.
We're using a lot of university resources, but we're doing this independent from the university.
And that is such a blessing and a curse, really. You must be from the university because it looks so great and fantastic. How dare you do this sort of thing? But what are some future goals and future plans that you have, that you sort of foresee in the near future and sort of down the line for the magazine that you see?
Well, as we mentioned, we'll be at Mocha Fest in New York City this upcoming weekend, Saturday and Sunday at the Mocha Art Center. And there will be it's a big illustration festival. We got invited by Kevin McClaskey to be at the Kutztown table, and he will be there, and a large amount of illustrators, publishers, and we're going to have a lot of business cards to give out, and we'll be selling magazines. So hopefully that'll be a big opportunity to possibly not self-publish anymore, but possibly get under a publisher, or find people that are like-minded, spread our market.
Or talk to publishers and see if we can get some advice on where to go next with this.
Yeah, possibly at least talk to publishers and see where we can go from there. But also, I mean, in the future, we really want to get to libraries. We want to get to middle schools. We want to talk to teachers. We want to make this. We're already working a lot with the core curriculum, and we're working a lot with getting it to be a learning things that you learn in school, but in a visual way. But we want to do that more, especially so we can make it part of the curriculum and make it something that you can embed into a classroom in some sense. We're really unsure where we want to go. There's so many ways that we want to go, and it's just a matter of where things take us at this point, I think.
And it's also really about the readers, because we have a couple subscribers right now, which is very exciting. We've recently gotten several more with the debut of issue 2. And we've gotten some fan mail back and some feedback in the form of postcards and letters in our P.O. box from some of our middle school readers. And that was really a thrill to open our P.O. box for the first time and say, wow, we're getting feedback. Like, kids are reading this and they're interested in it and they're drawing their favorite characters from it. So wherever we end up going, I'm very excited for us to get our readership up, and I'm excited for us to get feedback and to get people excited about it. And I think our ultimate goal that isn't like something you can write on paper is to just deliver the feeling to as many kids as possible in our community and, ideally outside of our community very soon, of getting that magazine and getting that subscription and getting that present in the mail, and they feel like, they don't, after they finish reading it, they feel good and they feel empowered, and they're not like, oh, I gotta go ask my mom to buy this thing now, or like, oh yeah, I should definitely go online and follow this person. Like, it's just really good, like, raw information that you can absorb. And I'm really excited for more kids to get to experience what we're making, and also for us to get better at what we're doing. Yeah. The more that we work, the more we're learning about what works in this magazine and what doesn't.
And that's awesome. Your marketing, trying to reach as many people as possible, of course, but still, keeping to your morals and values of, producing quality content, which is, important in this day and age when there's a whole bunch of copycats when you look at music sometimes, that sort of thing. Now, when you get down to making the artwork, who focuses on the artwork and who focuses on sort of the wording and that sort of thing? How are those jobs sort of split?
Well, I do about 90% of the writing, and Olivia does about 90% of the illustration, and then we switch off vice versa. So I draw a little bit, and then she writes a little bit, but for the most part, we just stick to our roles.
And for that other 10%, we have contributors.
Oh yeah, then we also have a couple contributors, maybe like 5 per issue, perhaps. But I mean, when we work together, we basically just complete each other's thoughts, which is pretty magical. Like, whatever I'm not good at, she's fantastic at, and whatever she's okay at, I'm okay at, so I'm not really selling myself very well, but yeah, I mean, we both complete each other's skill sets in the same sense that, we create the magazine together, and it's really good for our majors too. Olivia's a fine arts education major, and she's doing the illustration for it. And I'm a communication PR major, and, I'm doing all the PR work, and I'm doing all of the writing and the copy and line editing. And it's just fantastic experience. Like, even if this doesn't go to the end, we're getting better and better at what we're trying to do eventually. And also, we're getting better and better at making Brainbug. So it's all just really exciting learning experience as well.
And we've gotten down the routine of every issue, when we lay it out, what we'll do is we'll kind of make like a grid, and our current issue is up to 36 pages, so we definitely want to continue with that number. And so we'll lay out every page, and we'll designate pages to the features, and then we'll designate pages to other ideas that we have that we want to write in, and then we'll designate a couple pages to contributing articles or like contributing comics. So then what Jesse and I will do is we'll take all of the pages that we're responsible for, which are the features and some of the extra articles and the comics and, anything that like is really all on us to talk to people and get the information or do the artwork. And then we'll divide it up. Like Jesse will usually say, I'll write this article, I'll write this article, I'll write this article. And if you want to take on that article, go for it. And then I'll usually say, okay, I'll draw this spread, I'll draw this spread, I'll draw this spread. And then if you want to take on drawing for this spread, then you go for it. So like, we're really great with each other. I mean, we proofread each other's stuff, like Jesse will always point out, like if I've missed putting a color somewhere or a line somewhere where it's really important, or, like usually like if Jesse's writing, I'll point out like maybe if something could be worded a little bit differently. So even though, obviously he's much better at writing and like art is more my thing, like we still can help each other with the little things that we don't notice. So it's great to have that back and forth, and we're not totally self-absorbed in what we're doing and missing any mistakes,
Oh yeah, and when you do get to get down to creating aspect, the character faces that appear sometimes. Are they real people? Are they sort of imaginative? Are they made up? What's the deal on that?
Well, the people on the cover are us as children all the time, and on this issue we have real people in the issue. This issue is the growth issue, so we did a B feature, and for the B feature we interviewed Professor Robin Underwood, Dr. Robin Underwood actually, and she's a biology professor and also a bee expert and a beekeeper for Rodale Institute and her personal beehives. So we got to interview her, and in this Google age of, internet technology, everything you can kind of know anything by like a couple clicks, you don't get the full story. So we wanted to interview as many real people as possible and make it as personal as possible because, if you put a face to something, if you put a name to something, then you're going to remember it and it's going to be more memorable and more of an experience and more personable. So we try and really put as many faces, real faces or fake faces. In this issue, we have the pun police, actually. And they're the police officers that make sure there's no, quote, wordplay. So anytime there's a pun, they just like read a ticket or like they pull them over. So
there are constant throughout the magazine.
There are constant throughout the magazine, and they're real people. They're a band called Ghost Dads / Teammates that are from town. So they're just friends of ours that we decided to use as real people. And
some of the kids are fictional. In some of the articles, we use kids like poking out of the corners, asking questions or making comments, and those are just kind of to add like extra characters in there that are non-specific. Yeah,
a lot of them are fake, but like there's a comic called Grill Boy, and it's basically about me at work because I work at a grill. But there's a lot of real, but there's a lot of fake. We
have a comic called the Superfoods. And that's personally my favorite comic that's in every issue. And the characters in this comic are all actually superfoods, in the category of foods that are really rich in different kind of vitamins and nutrients. So you've got Circle Pit, who's like a little avocado with a face, and Split, who's a banana with like these big meaty arms and a face. And so they're food characters, and in every issue they meet new members of the superfood team. And so these are all obviously made up characters because it's food with faces that can fly. But in this second issue they meet Squash and Salmon, who are the new superfoods. And Squash is like a big sumo wrestler. He's a squash, he squashes stuff. And then Salmon is she's got a lot of omega-3s, which are really good for your brain. So she's like this smart kind of detective type character, but she's like a fish with a suit on, so it's really fun to design these characters because the superfoods are in every issue and they just kind of interchange depending on what kind of mission they have to go on, what foods are best for the job. And Jesse and I will design the characters together, and we'll run ideas by each other. And I mean, we have a lot of friends that are also very like-minded and have similar senses of humor and similar aesthetics, so we'll run character ideas by our friends too, and they'll say, oh, what if you added this? What if you put this here? Like, this would be really funny. And like, we definitely value other people's opinions, so we've incorporated a lot of little quirks in our characters that other people have suggested to us. In this issue, the superfoods try to defeat Pizza because he's trying to play himself off as a vegetable. So it's a pretty good read.
It's pretty funny. Now, I want to thank you both for coming on the show, Jesse and Olivia. It's been great talking about your new idea, your new magazine, all of your education skills coming together in a great project that you're really starting off for the kids middle school age. So Brain Bug, the growth issue, it's out in stores. You can find them on Facebook. We'll put a link on our Facebook profile page as well and give them some shout outs. So Jesse and Olivia, thanks for coming on the show today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, George.
All right, stick around for more Kutztown Live, knuckleheads.
It's Telescopic Topics, a look into the world above us.
NASA identified 911 near-Earth asteroids with an approximate diameter of 1,000 meters. These are considered the larger planetoids found within our solar system and located between the orbits of Mars and Jupiter in the main belt. The near-Earth asteroids are split into 3 groups: Amor, Apollo, and Aten. Amor asteroids' orbits come close but do not cross Earth's orbits, while Apollo asteroids do cross Earth's orbits but spend most of the time outside. Unlike the other 2 groups of asteroids, Aten asteroids spend more time within the Earth's orbit as well. Despite the seemingly massive collection of asteroids in the solar system, the mass of the combined total equals less than that of the Earth's moon. Asteroids revolve around the Sun-like planets in an elliptical orbit, and 150 of them are known to have small companion moons as well. However, the surface temperature of a typical asteroid is about negative 70 degrees Celsius. They have remained mostly unchanged for billions of years, which might offer some additional insights into the origins of the solar system. 75% of known asteroids are called C-type or carbonaceous. These asteroids inhabit the main belt's outer region. The 2 other larger categories include S-type or siliceous and M-type or metallic. A rarer type is referred to as a V-type. These groups of asteroids have a basaltic volcanic crust composition. Asteroids capable of inflicting global disaster on Earth would need to have roughly a quarter-mile diameter. Such an impact from an asteroid of that size could send the Earth's atmosphere into a state of nuclear winter. An atmospheric cloud of dust would block out the sun and encase the Earth within a thick veil of particles. But statistically speaking, the chances of an asteroid hitting the Earth at that magnitude only occur once every 1,000 centuries. Information on asteroids was very limited until 1991, when Galileo was the first spacecraft to take close-up images of an asteroid. In 2001, the first craft to successfully land on an asteroid was named Eros and paved the way for others to test similar bounds in the future. With the continual advancement of technology, it is only a matter of time before we have a greater understanding of the intricate system of asteroids within our solar system.
Telescopic Topics, a look into the world above us. Stay tuned to KUR for more telescopic topics, and for more information or to hear the segment again, click on the Telescopic Topics icon on the KUR website at www.kutztown.edu/KUR. Telescopic Topics is a production of the KU Physical Sciences Department and is recorded by the KU astronomy students in the studios of KUR. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Everybody's talking about it. Stories. We love stories. Uplifting stories. Stories that challenge us. Stories that make us cry. Your stories, our community stories. This is The People Chronicles. Visit us today at thepeoplechronicles.com.
And you can also hear the People Chronicles every Thursday at 11:30 a.m. on the radio voice KUR.
It's on us.
To stop sexual assault.
To do something, anything, to keep an assault from happening.
To take reports of sexual assault seriously.
Get in the way if we see something happening. It's on us to never blame the victim.
To be part of the solution, not part of the problem.
It's on us, the entire Kutztown University family, to stop sexual assault.
I took the pledge, and you can too, at itsonus.org.
Kutztown University Clinical Services is hosting an Out of the Darkness walk for suicide awareness and prevention April 26th. Registration is at 5 p.m. and the walk begins at 6 on the South Campus area known as the DMZ. The area is located between Burke's, Dietrich, and the South Dining Hall. There is no fee to register and walkers may participate individually or form teams. All proceeds benefit the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. More information at afsp.org. That's afsp.org, or call 484-646-5927. That's 484-646-5927.
Did you know that 80% of KU students don't binge drink?
Hanging posters again? Do you think that poster is really true?
Yes, it is true. I am a KU health ambassador and familiar with the audit. KU students participate in alcohol screening each year. We use the alcohol use disorder identification test. It is a simple way to screen and identify people who are at risk of developing alcohol problems. We have learned that the majority of students are taking care of business and focusing on academics.
You know, most of my friends don't drink, so I guess what this poster is saying is true.
Would you like to get a group of friends together for a bite to eat?
Sounds great. Text me later.
Kutztown Living, neighbor to neighbor.
Funded by the Pennsylvania Liquor Control Board.
You're listening to Kutztown Live with George Flaidland on KUR. Call in at 610-683-4859. It's Kutztown Live.
And we're back live here on Kutztown Live. I'm your host, George Flaidland. We just recently had the producers, artists, the authors of the Brain Bug magazine meant for middle-aged students for local kids here at Kutztown University from Jesse and Olivia Knowles. And they gave their insight on how they've been able to make such a fantastic piece of artwork and a great magazine for kids to engage with learning and things like that. So the question becomes sort of going off, piggybacking off of that last segment that we had. When we think about technology and its use of today, it's been great, communication-wise. It's been great, to advance our society in some ways, and it hasn't exactly panned out to be great in some other ways necessarily. Now, every human society really focuses on change isn't exactly the greatest thing in the world. When we think of the future, we're sort of afraid. We think of it, things like 1984, books like that, and future and robots and some scary things that we haven't seen because we don't know the future. But when we think about today and where we've come from a technological aspect, is it appropriate to do learning with how technology is it appropriate to hand a 4-year-old an iPhone and start learning that way? Are the studies really out there to show that it's better for brain development? Is it better than reading from an actual magazine or reading from a book, or is it better to read online? Those are some questions that I guess over the past decade or so, my high school principal said at our graduation that our generation was the Generation I, the Apple generation, I guess, with the iPhones and iPads, and our learning has really changed when we think about the elementary students and even in high school. Now most high schools who are financially stable are giving laptops and iPads away to increase their ability to further their studies and potentially college and even beyond after that. So I just want to introduce Nick Lawrence on the show from WEEU, a great mentor for us here at Kutztown University, and we're really blessed to have him on. Nick, welcome to the show.
George, good to be here. I love being here. I like talking about this, and as you were doing that interview with them, I was thinking about this whole idea about in an age where kids are being exposed to everything that's electronic and digital. Here we have these guys, producing a magazine that actually slows the kids down, where they have to read and look at the pictures and learn something from it. There have been a number of studies that are done with kids who are exposed to a lot of screen time when they're young, and they tend to have the greatest levels of ADD and ADHD because they're always being hyperstimulated by doing things. And a lot of the counselors and psychologists encourage parents to have their kids slow down by doing things that actually allow them to either turn a page in a book or to maybe play a game where they, like a checkers and things, the old kinds of things, because you can't force those games. You don't have to be speed oriented to do them. And little kids don't have the ability to decipher out the speed of their hands with their hand-eye coordination. I'm sorry, that's what I was trying to say. So that was an interesting interview. I thought you did a great job doing that. And
thank you.
It does bring up the question of whether or not kids should be being exposed to so much electronic stuff early in life. What do you think about that? How far back do you remember when you started? Did you have a computer when you were little?
Yeah, I did. Actually, my mom sort of told me the other day, actually, how technology sort of shifted from her generation to my generation. Mm-hmm. And she said the first time that sort of happened for her was when I was watching, PBS Kids on TV, and there was an ad for, www.pbskids.com pbs.org or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom immediately, at that point, I said back to her, Mom, can we go on the internet? And I repeat, www.pbs.org. And my mom at that point was like, wow, this is a new generation.
Yeah,
this is, mind-boggling in the sense that my child will not grow up the same way that I did.
Even think of somebody like on, NPR or PBS where they have somebody like Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, okay? I mean, that was slow. He was methodical with kids. He had fun with them. He did, puppets and things like that, and people learn. And then you have Sesame Street where they introduce a lot of the, the characters and things like that. That seems tame and mild now, doesn't it, compared to what kids are exposed to today?
Yeah, and, I guess I'm a little guilty of this, but, when it comes to like video games, that sort of thing, when you're exposed at, the recommendation is, 17 years
Right.
and up for, violent video games. But I can remember playing, shooting video games at the age of 12, 11 years old. And what kind of thing does that sort of say about our society? Like, do we become susceptible to violence, and is it okay? And
Well, I think a lot of it has to do is when you start those things. Even with my kids, especially my son, I remember him going online, playing with his friends, playing all these games, something like Duke Nukem and some of the other things. They're amazing, violent games. Like, he said, Dad, it's not a big deal. We're just having fun. We're not really killing anybody, really, and all this stuff. But when you think about what the neural pathway development of your brain, your brain, you keep repeating the same behavior over and over again, and you don't get out of the game until you keep repeating. Every language teacher, every math teacher, every music teacher knows that repetition is how you get to learn those things, right? So if you're repeating the same hand-eye coordination and killing people over and over and over until you succeed, what does that do to you, depending on what the themes are in there? Now, you played violent games, you said, right?
yes.
But you don't see yourself as a violent guy, do you?
I don't, because I was never very good at the violent video games.
There you go.
So I stuck to my Mario Kart and my FIFA and my Madden games. So I was more the sports guy personally in the family. So I was a sport-oriented guy. I mean, played 3 sports in high school. I just loved being active, and I guess active with my fingers too when it comes to video games. But I mean, when I look at my brother, he played it all the time. But I mean,
is he younger or older?
He's younger than me, but
Okay.
he's not the violent person, I guess.
Is he hyperactive in any way? Is he really like assertive? Is he like jittery? Does he sleep well? Does he have any of those things? Maybe not. I'm not saying it necessarily is so.
I mean, the kid's a genius. I'm not gonna lie.
Okay.
I don't know how it correlates or if there's any association when it comes to him specifically. But I guess it also becomes when your environment, I guess, when you grow up, just the video game aspect. I mean, parents, limited us to so many hours a day and that sort of thing.
And it's ironic, though, now that the military likes to recruit kids who played a lot of video games. And because how is war developing? He's becoming drone warfare, right? So they need people to fly these drones where they may be here in the United States and the drone is in the Middle East someplace. But the young people who have grown up on video games and controllers and joysticks and all that stuff, they have a better handle at doing that than some of their older people that they work with, the other soldiers. So think about that, what it's doing. Everything's changing as a result of this high-tech stuff we're doing. So when you bring a guest in like the two that you had here, I mean, that does make a difference when they're slowing people down, aren't they? They want you to read that magazine. She said, I think she said, and Jesse said that they put real seeds in the book that you can take out and plant them. Well, seeds don't grow that fast. You see what I mean? I think that's really an amazing thing that they're doing there. I'd be curious to see how the world responds to it. I was reading an article the other day, and it's called The Death of Textbooks, that because textbooks are so slow and everything's being put online and done electronically, they don't think the textbooks are going to be around in a few years. Now think of what that would do for college students if there were no textbooks.
Well, it's already been done.
Is it? It's
with,
moving away?
With a couple of my classes, when I think about my health class, we have, there you can buy the book and then also get the online portion. And the online portion is actually what's graded.
Yeah.
We have, to sort of prove that we've been reading, we have these things called Learn Smarts. And at the end of it, after the end of quote unquote reading it, you have like these sort of segments where you take a quiz, but it's not graded. You just have to do it for completion.
Okay.
So technically what you could do, I mean, I haven't done this. But technically what you can do is essentially skip all the reading and then just go to the quiz and then just figure out all the answers. It'll take you a little bit longer, but most of them are common sense, so why even bother reading the book?
I've actually done that myself on a number of, and some of the other businesses that I have. There are continuing ed courses I have to take, and you have to take these online. And they give you a study guide. You can read through the study guide and then take the test afterwards, or you can skip to the test right away. So you don't even have to read the material if you know, if you have some idea of what you're doing. So I mean, everything is changing dramatically. Even like college courses online, right? Rather than actually sitting in a classroom. So now when you're, I haven't done this, but when you're taking, when you're, let's say, reading a text online, you're only engaging your eyesight for the most part. When you read a book, you're engaging your sense of feel too, because you're actually turning pages and doing that. So who knows what that's going to do in the future? But kids are definitely going to be different as a result of this.
Oh, of course they are. I mean, we already are when we have to do these adaptive sort of hybrid learning when it comes to some of our classes here, even at Kutztown. I mean, but it's also a budget saving thing. You don't have to pay so much money for books and textbooks. You don't have to pay for all the printing costs of that. You just have to pay for a code. And it's, I guess it's also, you could, I guess, theoretically say that the university or the school is also becoming lazy in the fact that they just, want to get by with a quick, easy buck. All you have to do is do the online portion. You're in, you're out, you get your education. That's about it.
And you think environmentally, I guess if you're not cutting any trees down to make books anymore, that's saving the environment in some way.
But you're also using, running the electricity
right,
up too.
Running energy to produce that. So there's no real way to escape it, but there are ways that you can cut down on these things. I just think it's interesting because you have young people in your college here that were just on the air with us, Jesse and Olivia, creating something that is in a sense a little anachronistic. It's not the direction that the world is going primarily now. There's been a movement away from textbooks and moving away from magazines, and they admitted that. But I think this is a great thing that you're doing because kids do need to slow down. There's too much hyperactivity going on because they're always being hyperstimulated by stuff. Or kids have their own TVs in their rooms, or they have their cell phones on all night long. And so they're never really alone. Walk around your campus. How many people are on a phone? Everyone, exactly. So you were never out of contact. We're never out of touch. There's always something going on in our heads. If they're not listening, if they're not on the phone, they're listening to music.
And you should be on the phone if you want to talk in with us.
Thank you.
If you want to talk in with us, Nick's trying to get me to get people to call on the show, which you should if you're listening, at 610-683-4859. You can talk with us. That number is 610-683-4859. Just to talk with us.
Yeah, give us your opinion because we're just two guys here, but we could use your opinion. Maybe you have a totally different opinion. Maybe electronic media and cell phones and video games have really benefited you in some way. And if they have, tell us. Or do you think that maybe they can create some level of hyperstimulation because of the whole idea of constantly repeating the same behavior over and over and over and over again until you get it through the game? I mean, I didn't play video games. That wasn't my generation, even though a lot of people do play them now. Right? So
Did you play Pong?
I did play Pong, yes. And I think there was a thing called Frogger or something was on.
Oh, Frogger's a good game.
Okay, I played that and tank battle tanks or something like that. It was something like that.
Asteroids?
Right?
You play Asteroids?
I did play Asteroids,
okay.
Yeah, but none of the high-tech games of today that are so realistic. I don't relate to those. Played some sport games, things like that. I had a program that was what would you call a simulated pilot program, flying an airplane, things like that, so that was cool, but nothing the way some of the kids on my show tell me the things that they play, and the names of the games are even bizarre anymore, the things that they do.
I'm too busy. I can't play video games anymore.
But you did at one time, right? Yeah. So, and kids play them at their most vulnerable ages. One of the things that we don't realize is, George, the things that we learn most, how can I say, the things we learn best are the things we don't even know we're learning. Like when you're not paying attention to something directly to it, the messages are getting in. It's like people say, well, they have to go to bed with their TVs on. But you can talk to any psychologist, any therapist, and they'll tell you if you go to bed with the TV on, especially if there's something violent on there, it can impact your dreams and your thinking and your sleep, change your brain waves and everything while you're sleeping. So it's cool stuff. It's interesting. This is an interesting topic. We'd like to have the listeners give us a call. What do you guys think? Do you stay up at night? Do you do pull all-nighters? What happens when that happens to somebody?
I mean, we can pull all-nighters all we want to when it comes to, we got to test tomorrow.
Exactly.
You gotta get your Wheaties on. Gotta have some,
I have a friend of mine who's a therapist and a psychologist who she swears that if she's preparing for a test, she puts the book under her pillow at night, and she's ready for the test better the next day than if she hadn't done that.
That's hilarious.
Isn't that something? I mean, who knows whether that's true or not. But her belief system is, though, that she can learn that way by just having the book underneath her pillow.
I mean, if it works, please.
She's a Rhodes Scholar. She's got a couple master's degrees.
Ah.
And, I mean, she's amazing, really.
She's a genius.
I mean, well,
she learns by absorption.
Right, exactly. See
photosynthesis through the pages of her book.
I know it sounds stupid, but we don't know. We don't really understand what we can do and what we can't do. But we do know one thing, that whatever you put into your brain is going to affect you. If you're putting it into your eyes or your skin or your ears, it's going to impact you, right, in one form or another. Now, is it going to always make a negative impact? I don't know that, but it is going to impact you. Because I was thinking the other day, who are we really? We're a combination of our history. Can you really escape your upbringing? Could you escape your upbringing?
Personally, I do. I hope I can escape my upbringing. Well, excuse me. My upbringing was pretty good. I guess my I misspoke there. My upbringing was great. I love my mom. Family history not the greatest, so that's the portion of the family that I hope that
what I mean though, George, that your generation you have certain kind of music that you're listening to, right?
Yeah, it's kind of bad.
You have a greater variety than other generations because you have access to the internet, something like iTunes and all that stuff. But when you think about it, the people of your generation will have memories around the music that you're listening to. The clothing that you wear is different than people wore 20 years ago. Right, the haircuts are different. The way we look at suntan, everything that you ever grew up with is unique to your generation now, as it was to like our generations in the past. I don't know how I can escape it. I still see people in my generation that they comb their hair the same way they always did. They drive the same kinds of cars. They go to the restaurants. They buy the same things. They talk about the same stuff that the generation did then because they can't seem to get beyond it. They talk about the past more than the present.
Or the future.
Which
is what we said earlier when I said we're scared of change in the future and we don't have that magic crystal ball sometimes that some people think they do, but life's crazy.
The thing is, you can't live in the future, though. Mm-hmm. And you can't live in the past. People try to live in the past because at least that's their memory. But the only place you can change anything is here, right? That's why when therapists do suggestions or visualizations, they always tell you to do that in the present tense. Because in the present tense is the only place you can change anything. You can't change something tomorrow. Mm-hmm. Can you? How could you change tomorrow?
Well, I could change tomorrow by, I guess I could go to class.
No, by changing today. The only way tomorrow will change is if you change today. You can't change it before it gets here, right?
I guess so.
Well, think about it.
To play devil's advocate, I could do my homework ahead of time, and
but that's today.
But then my tomorrow will be better because my work will be done
because of what you did today.
But it's setting up tomorrow. I'm going to stick by that.
Yeah, I know. This is good. I know catch you off guard with this, but really, because you meet all kinds of people. They do reminiscing all the time, and it's like they wish they could do it over again. Well, you can't.
Yeah, it kind of sucks sometimes.
You have this moment, and this is the one where you can be different, and that's why I encourage you to have confidence in what you're doing. Trust your guts, and usually things work better when you trust your guts than if you try to figure them out,
Yeah, you really can't live in the past. That kind of sucks. It doesn't work out.
People try to, though, right?
Yeah.
They're always talking about what they used to do or what they were like in college and the parties we went to and all the things that we did. Remember when we were in high school, we did all this stuff?
Yeah.
All it is, though, is just a memory. There's a movie that I saw the other day called Predestination. And it's a very cool movie. I'm not going to tell you about it, but anybody who wants to try to understand what we were just talking about here should see that movie because it'll take you almost the whole movie to figure it out, but it's really cool by the time you get to the end of it. Predestination. Yeah, and it's interesting stuff. So what else you want to talk about before we say goodbye today? You're into the game tonight, right?
Obviously, I'm sporting my Duke jersey, which will be a timeless classic. Let me tell you.
See, and you'll be talking to your friends about this forever.
And all my friends in my dorm, they're not Duke fans. Mainly because the last time Duke won against North Carolina at the end of the season this year, I went crazy. I went ballistic.
Okay.
Personally, I'm not in the dorms very often, but when I am, you can hear me.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So I was having a great time, and nobody's a Duke fan in my dorm. So it was a great feeling to rub it in their faces when Duke won and beat UNC.
I bet it was. Yeah. So what about last night's game? What about this thing with Wisconsin? How'd they win that game? Shocker, wasn't it?
Yeah, Wisconsin. Oh yeah. Well, Frank Kaminsky is absolutely insane. He's a beast. And he deserves the award, all the fame. But personally, I think Duke is going to win. Personally tonight, just because I'm a Duke fan. But no, like when you come together as a team like Wisconsin did against Kentucky last night, it shows the idea of staying it out for 4 years. And sometimes people take that for granted, and they don't stay for 4 years because they're going to make millions in a year. And why wouldn't you stay? But then there's the idea of representing your school, representing those around you, getting to know the coaching staff, the lifestyle at your university for 4 years, and that's something that if I was if I was a college athlete,
right.
I think that'd be important to me personally. But when you have, these great signing contracts in front of you, like these Kentucky kids do, who are all freshmen, and quite honestly, Duke as well, it's hard to give up that opportunity. But when you have, for example, the Michigan State guy, forget his name, forgive me, but he was a senior, and they were listening to all these things like, his team wasn't as great his other years. He was able to, come up as a role player and stay it out and be a star for his team and lead his team to the Final Four. And he wouldn't have been able to do that had he entered the draft and, made his millions or whatever. But he progressed as a player, he progressed as a person, and he got his college education on time, which is, important, obviously preached to me from my parents who work at a college, but...
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. So do you think the other team was overconfident and that's how they lost? I mean, they weren't expecting to lose, right?
Oh, of course they weren't.
So were they overconfident? Was it that Wisconsin just didn't give up? Apparently, Wisconsin has not been at this far in the NCAA playoffs since 1941.
Yeah.
Think about that, right? That's amazing. That's longer than we have all been alive here, right? And yet they're still here. They're here now, right? So you really think Duke's going to win, though, right?
Oh, of course. When you got
No
Jalil,
doubt? No doubt.
Yeah. I'm not going to say no doubt because there's
always some.
There's always going to be a little bit of doubt. Let me tell you that. If I say, yeah, Duke's guaranteed to win, and then I'm having everybody yelling at me, oh, you said they were going to guarantee.
So what are the odds though? What are people saying? What are the odds? Are more people on Duke for Duke? Do you think, or for Wisconsin?
Good question.
I know you're on your floor.
I mean, my personally biased opinion, I'd say Duke, but there has to be a lot of confidence now in Wisconsin that they took down the giant, the monster of Kentucky. Yeah. But earlier this year, Duke beat Wisconsin.
They did.
They beat Wisconsin at Wisconsin.
Their records together, I mean, they're not that far off with the number of wins and losses, right? They're like 3 and 6. I mean, the wins and losses on each team or something. They're not that far off. No. So these are well-matched teams. At least it sounds like they are.
They're well-matched teams, but the ACC is just so much better than Big Ten this season.
Okay.
I mean,
you're not too opinionated.
I mean, I'm
about
not just tooting the ACC's horn and Duke's, ability to take this national championship, but it'll be a good game. Duke will keep it close for them, and they'll pull away.
Well, it'll be interesting. The next time I'm on the show, by that time, we will have known the outcome. We'll know the outcome tomorrow, right? Or tonight we'll know the outcome.
Yes, we will.
Yeah, I know. So, what happens if they win? How are you going to celebrate? Can you tell us or not?
I'll be very excited. Be very happy. A lot of joy. And then I'll probably be working on my English project because that's important. Education.
Back to reality.
Yeah, back to reality.
Hey, look, this has been cool. I don't know how much time we have left. You have a minute?
We have there's the magic music from Monsoon Mike.
All right, George, we'll do it the next time. Thanks for inviting me back on the show. I always appreciate being here.
Well, thank you, Nick, for coming on to the show on Kutztown Live. I'm your host, George Flaidland, signing off. Stick around next week, you knuckleheads. We'll have another great Kutztown Live show.